everybody, and welcome to the Ascension Keys Masterclass. I'm super excited to have you here today, whether you're with us live or if you're going to be watching in the future for the replay. This is to help you understand your energy. Okay, what is the purpose of this masterclass? So I was talking about this earlier, actually, with my friends. When I first started on my spiritual awakening journey, it was not my intention to necessarily become a channeler, become a spiritual coach, or get into, the Akashic Records and soul contracts and all these esoteric understandings. I just wanted to be able to heal. I wanted to release all the PTSD and the trauma that I had experienced when I was younger. I wanted to get out of narcissistic, abusive relationships with friends and romantic partners. I really wanted to just find peace and be able to breathe in my reality, right? And so I set out to, figure out what I needed to do. And it was very confusing and overwhelming because there's so much in spirituality, so many different topics that you can learn about. And so it kind of feels sometimes that you're grasping at straws and just trying to figure out what will stick for you in your reality. And so that is why I have put this masterclass together today, because I wanted to create a guide map for everyone that was very easy to follow, very easy to implement with like tangible exercises. Okay. But also so you can see why everything is correlated and webbed together, right? Because that's half of it, like knowing why things work the way that they do. And then it's a lot easier to make shifts in your life. So the replay will be available for everybody afterwards. And again, thank you to everybody joining live and watching in the future. We're going to take a couple of bathroom breaks because your girl likes to drink a lot of water while we're doing these because I'm going to be talking a lot. But you make sure and drink a lot of water too. It's very good for your system and processing things. And then towards the end, I'm going to talk about this really amazing program that I have coming up. It's called the Quantum Evolution Academy. Very pumped for that. And we're going to do a live Q&A. So if you have questions about the things that we're going to be going over, I would love to answer them for you to the best of my ability. And I want to say, as always, use your intuition and discernment when you are listening to anyone talk about anything. Okay. This is a framework that I have put together from my own perspectives, my own experiences of healing myself and healing my clients. Sorry, I've got dog hair all over my face suddenly. But these are all things that I have implemented in my own life that have worked, and maybe some of them will work for you and maybe not. Or maybe you don't want to get into the Akashic Records and soul contracts and all of those esoteric woo things, but you want to learn how to simply heal. Right. And so take what works for you. And also, okay, I want you to envision that you are a house. Everybody's a house, like, that you live in. Okay. So everybody's house is going to look very different from one another, just like your ascension journey. Okay. My path is going to look very different from yours. And the steps that I take to get to where I'm at are the steps where you're going to get where you're going. Okay. But everybody has very similar foundations. Okay. The concrete blocks on which your house is built. And so even if the esoteric parts of this are not for you, which they probably are if you're listening to this and you resonate with my things, but central nervous system healing, inner child healing, subconscious mindset reprogramming, and self-concept is for everybody across the board. If that is what you take away from this, I'd love that for you. And it's going to be so beneficial and helpful for you in your life. Okay. But if you want to stick around and listen to the woo things as well, I would love to have you towards the end. Okay. So here we go. And again, if you're here listening live, feel free to chat amongst yourselves in the Zoom chats, and then I will answer questions at the end with our live Q&A. Okay, and then if you're watching in the future, always feel free to leave questions in the comments as well, and then I will answer them there. Okay, if this is your first time meeting me, my name is Sage Gwendolyn. I am a spiritual coach, a spiritual mentor, Reiki master, quantum healer, Akashic Record reader, and Cosmic Shaman. I'm also a mom to a 12-year-old. He just turned 12, and I have 3 puppos. I love EDM music, electronic dance music. I love going on adventures, so trying new things. Variety is the spice of life. I love going to new stores, especially metaphysical stores, crystal stores, but also traveling to new places, just bringing new energy and new life, right? And I love magical art. as y'all are going to see in this presentation. We're going to be talking about some kind of heavy things here in some parts, trauma and PTSD. So I wanted to make it as fun and whimsical as I can for you and your inner children, so that they can kind of have a brain break while we're talking about some of the heavier things. Some of you know that on my Instagram, Soul Harmony Magic, that is a great place if you are feeling stressed or anxious throughout your day. The 3D paradigm is bogging you down, or, coworkers, relationships, all the things, bills. You can come over to my Insta stories, and I put a ton of magical art there as well. Woo, galactic, witchy, alien-esque. It's not my art. I love curating other people's arts. It's one of my most favorite hobbies. So that is what I have done here as well. So part of my mission here in this incarnation, and probably others as well, is to help you connect to your multidimensionality so you can reach higher levels of consciousness and find your most aligned timelines so you can live into your soul mission. If you want to follow me on social medias, you can find me at Soul Harmony Magic on TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube, all the places. Or you can email me at soulharmonymagic@gmail.com. And I figure you might want to see some pictures of my cutie patooties. This is Mr. Pugs. He is a pug. And then I have Daisy here. She is a beagle. And then my sweet little lady, Molly, she is a chihuahua. Okay, so this is what is known as Maslow's hierarchy of needs to live a fulfilled life. Okay, so as you can see, it kind of looks like a chakra system. And so down here at the bottom, we have root chakra, working our way up to sacral, and then solar, and then heart, and then throat chakra. And then above that, that's not even on here, is your third eye chakra, and then your crown chakra. Okay. So it works in a ladder system. Down here at the bottom, we have physiological, I was going to say psychological, physiological needs. Okay. And this is like basic human necessities: air, water, food, shelter, you're sleeping. Okay. And when we have those things, clothing, we feel a lot more secure in our reality. And then we can kind of move up the ladder of life and start working on getting a job or finding a home to live at our apartment, or getting a car, also working on our health. Then we move up again and we can start working on friendships, romantic partnerships, working on your family dynamics or romantic partners, or building your own family, maybe having kids. It's your sense of connection to other people. Then we go up and we can start working on our self-esteem, our strength, our freedom, our willpower, our determination. And then we go up again, and this is the desire to be the one that most can be. So this is your future self. This is the identity that you want to become. But we have to start at the foundational brickstone here with having our basic necessity human needs. And we're going to talk about that with our central nervous system here in just a moment. This is called an emotional frequency chart. So again, we kind of start down here with our root chakra at the bottom, making our way up to the crown. So when we are experiencing emotions that we do not prefer, they are typically housed in our root chakra, sacral chakra, and solar plexus chakra. These are things like shame, guilt, grief, fear, anger, pride. Now, I will say, before we get further into this, that when I first started in spirituality, there was this rhetoric that feeling negative emotions meant that you're not going to get your manifestations, or you're not high vibe enough, all these things. Emotions are just things that you channel. It does not have anything to do with your worthiness. It doesn't have anything to do with whether you're going to receive your manifestations or if you're doing things right or wrong. They just simply exist. They simply are, kind of like your thoughts. Those are things that you're channeling from your mind, but it doesn't have anything to do with you as a core soul being. Okay. So it's totally okay that you feel these things, because that's part of the human experience. That's what we came here to do. Like, how are you going to experience joy and whimsy and magic if you don't know what sadness and loss and grief and shame feels like? Like, you have to have contrasting emotions to experience the vastness of this human experience. Okay. Now, the issue is when we start living in these states perpetually, and these are the only feelings and emotions that we are experiencing. That's when we start getting into anxiety and catastrophizing, and just everything in our reality is just not the way that we want it to be, or just things are always going wrong. We want to be able to channel them through and release them. Okay. But it is okay that you feel them. So once we do start changing our homeostasis point and learning how to channel these higher level frequencies like acceptance, reason, joy, peace, enlightenment, this is where you start making really big transformations in your life. But again, it's okay to feel all the feelings. So the framework in which I'm going to be talking about today kind of works like Maslow's hierarchy system and this emotional frequency chart here. So we're going to be seeing a lot of the Reiki charts, okay, and chakra charts as we go along here. Okay, so if we look down here at the bottom, all the way down, that is where we are going to start with our root chakra with our central nervous system and regulating it. Then we move up to subconscious mindset reprogramming, chakra balancing, inner child healing, self-concept, quantum manifestation, Akashic records, connecting to timelines, soul contracts, and karmic lessons. Now, when I say that I put this framework together, it's not so much my framework of this is just life's framework. Okay. If you work through this system like this, it makes it so much easier. And these higher level esoteric understandings and knowledge and accessy points are a lot easier to connect with. And we're going to get into why in this presentation. Okay. So again, going to start down here with the root chakra. This is over safety and security. Safety and security outside of you, but also feeling safe and secure with it. Okay, what are signs of a dysregulated nervous system? So you may experience all of these, or maybe a few of them, or maybe you're really rocking it in life and you're just at peace and vibing all the time. But central nervous systems or dysregulated central nervous system, you might feel overwhelmed, like you never have enough time. You're snappy, irritable, overstimulated. You get chronic pain. Your body hurts a lot. You get very sick easily because a activated central nervous system, it takes a toll on your immune system. You experience insomnia, daytime fatigue, excuse me, you're tired all the time. You have attention and concentration issues, or maybe trouble with your memory, overeating or undereating, hormonal, gut, and skin issues, or you overread other people's emotional states. So this is a safety trauma response from childhood that I see with a lot of empaths and light workers. And this is, you had to learn how to regulate other people's thoughts, feelings, and emotions to keep yourself safe because it felt like a dangerous home environment, or maybe you've even experienced that later in life with like narcissistic abusive relationships. And so you start reading everybody in the grocery store or in Walgreens or CVS or at restaurants or, in social places. And it causes a lot of social anxiety because you're saying, oh, I need to find all the scary people in the room, people who are representatives of parents or teachers or guardians who, I didn't feel safe around. And it's just a response that your children do because of the things that happen to them. It's something that you can heal. It's something that I've had to work on in myself. Especially I had a very intense social anxiety growing up into like young adulthood. And I had to really do a lot of reframes with my inner children and say, hey, I am the guardian. I'm the protector. I'm not going to let anything happen to you. We need to learn how to hold really good energetic boundaries. And we need to start looking for people who are smiling and people who have magical, whimsical auric fields. What are the colorful things that we can focus on? What are the things that make us feel safe, right? And we'll get into the inner child healing part here in a minute, but you got to ask yourself sometimes, like, am I exhibiting that and needing to read everybody because of the childhood that I grew up in? Okay, how does it get dysregulated? That was one way, but trauma, PTSD throughout your life, not just inner child trauma, PTSD, but all throughout life. You're never taught how to process your emotions. Again, emotions are something that you channel. And a lot of people are experiencing anxiety and depression and overstimulation in adulthood when it's actually not coming from you as an adult. It's coming from things that were not processed as a child. Like if you are holding on to anger, shame, guilt, frustration, loneliness, all of those heavy, dense things, like that's where inner child coming healing comes into play, where we have to help them heal their emotions. Like you may have already worked through a lot of that as an adult and come to peace with a lot of things. But if they've been holding on to that for years and years and years, maybe you do need to have like a really good cry with your inner children so they can release that from 20 years ago, or get them like a rage stick and go outside and like smash it, right? Or go in your mind and like envision that you're hitting a pinata with them. That's a kind of like less destructive thing. But environmental noises, that's like you live in a city that it's really hard to like sleep because there's like sounds going off all the time, or maybe you don't live in a very safe neighborhood. Living with your parents can be really activating as well, because if they're the ones that, you know, incurred trauma on you and you're around them all the time, you could be real deep in your healing journey, but when you're around them, it kind of snaps you back to that childlike state of being, and your central nervous system is like, oh, I remember this, I know how to handle this, and you kind of retract into yourself, or you start kind of acting in a childlike state of manner because they're kind of taking over your consciousness and pulling up that scared inner child. So it can be like kind of difficult to heal, especially with family members, because you have so many memories together. Codependent or narcissistic relationships, either with friends or with romantic partners. Chaotic work environments, like high stress jobs. They can be genetic and hereditary disposition. Like some people are just born with a more activated central nervous system, but that is something that you can learn how to regulate and heal. Watching fear-based media like scary movies, and passing light workers. Okay. Again, with the frequency reading other people, you literally feel those feelings in your own body. Okay. And that's why sometimes we have a difficult time watching those things, or things with violence, because you're feeling it as if it's happening to you, or you're feeling the emotions that that actor or actress are portraying on the film, and it can feel like a real visceral experience to you, even though it's just something that you're watching or listening to. The news can very much dysregulate you because it's so much doom and gloom, and you know the economy's crashing and the world's coming to an end and all these things. So you got to be mindful about that. Not holding strong energetic boundaries, like we talked about before, or not valuing your time or energy, or letting people disrespect you. Masking takes an incredible amount of energy as well and dysregulates you, because you're having to, and if it's your first time hearing masking, that is you putting on a persona or a front, a version of yourself that you think is going to be more palatable for other people. And sometimes we do that as a safety trauma response, because otherwise maybe we'll get hurt physically or emotionally, right? But that's where we have to start making shifts in our life to get ourselves in safer situations and environments. Okay, benefits of a chillaxed nervous system. Okay, we feel safe and secure within, gravitate towards healthy relationships. You can hear your intuition more clearly, make better decisions, feel capable of achieving your dreams, and you feel the motivation to take action steps towards your goals. You feel more free, able to express yourself, tap into new income streams, and think higher level thoughts. It is very difficult to do anything when you are in fight or flight. It also causes catastrophizing, and then the anxiety, and then the fear-based thoughts, and then it kind of snaps you back into old state of beings, or it triggers behavioral patterns, and that's how we get caught in these loops in life. It's because no one ever taught us how to regulate ourselves. No one ever taught us all of these things, right? Unless you have like awakened parents, or you're around, a spiritual community like right out the gate. And so as we're kind of traversing through these things, I want to say that it can feel overwhelming. Like, wow, I have so much work to do, but we want to hold grace and compassion for ourselves, and that we're here today or watching this in the future. And we're here to work on our growth and our evolution. And so give yourself a round of applause that you are taking time to invest in yourself today and all the other days that I know you're doing things like this, whether it's my workshops and lives or, other people's courses or YouTube videos or whatever it is. Like, you are having to learn how to reparent yourself. That's big stuff. Okay. As a parent myself, I feel like I'm trying to teach myself how to parent while being a parent. Okay. So I get it, and it's okay. And we're going to take it one day at a time. Okay. And speaking of higher level thoughts, this is where we need to come in with the subconscious mindset reprogramming. And we can see that we're kind of moving up the ladder here. This correlates with our root chakra and then with our sacral chakra. Ooh. Here we go. Okay. So what is our subconscious mind? Okay. This is all of our thoughts and our feelings and our beliefs intertwined with one another that influence our behavior. Our subconscious is primarily formed between infancy and 7 years old. And there's some leeway there. I don't want to say that it just cuts off at 7 years old, but that is the time when it is the most formidable. And it is influenced by our parents and guardians, teachers, peers, like kids that you grow up with in kindergarten, elementary, middle school, social media, religion, culture, government, news, and traumatic events. It works through repetition. So the more that you hear something, the more likely that you are going to believe it. It also works with the collective experience. So your subconscious wants to keep you safe. It wants to keep you in comfortability. It wants to keep you in the norm. And so if everybody is doing something a certain way, your subconscious is going to say, well, obviously we need to do it like that as well. Even though it might be something that is not great. Okay. Maybe it's something that has been passed down through generations and it's just a regurgitation of self-limiting beliefs or trauma, or, all these things that keep us from the realities that we desire. But if it's everyone or the majority of people saying like, well, this is just how we do it, your subconscious is going to want to kind of go into that herd mentality because it is a safety trauma response. Let me drink some water here. Some of these collective experiences are just made up though. Okay. Everything is made up. Okay. Like when we think about money, there's dollars and change, but it's not really real. Like that is something that we came together to decide to use as our trade system, but it really could be anything. It could be toilet paper. It could be seashells. Holidays are made up. Time is made up. That's just a unit of measure, a tool that helps us like through this human experience. Social norms are made up. It's just a bunch of people said like, hey, let's do this. Okay. Or like morals, like things that are right and wrong. Like even if you back it up cosmically, on that scale, it's like, who's to say like what is right and wrong? Okay. So we just all come together, but that doesn't mean that the collective decision is the right one. So you kind of have to ask yourself, like, what is my truth outside of what everybody else is doing? It controls 95% of our actions. And that kind of goes back and forth. Some people say that it's 90 to 95%, but it's a lot. Okay. And we get very much influence from authoritative figures. So it's being formed when you were a small child. And if you have parents and teachers and guardians that are teaching you how reality works based off of their beliefs and trauma that they've experienced and collective experiences that they've decided on, well, obviously you're going to want to listen to them because they're a lot older than you and they're in these authoritative, figures in your life. And you're like, oh, well, they obviously have really good advice. They're secure in their reality, even though they may not be. They may be like really chaotic in their lives. But like as a little child, like you don't have the capacities that an adult does. So you're wanting to be safe and secure. So you're like, let me listen to this person that seems like it has a little bit more together than me, especially with your parents and guardians who, are meant to love you unconditionally, even though sometimes that's not always the case. But a small child is going to, even with parents that have really, or guardians that have really negative behaviors, a lot of times children interpret whatever actions or that are being taken against them as like, oh, they're doing that because they love me, because they're my parent, because they're supposed to love me, right? So fear is also a way to program people, because when your central nervous system is activated, you are in survival mode. You are at that point grasping at straws, and you are trying to, you're not having clear-minded thoughts. Okay. And that's where catastrophizing happens, and we start thinking of, like the worst case scenarios. And so that's how the news gets you a lot of times. It works with evidence-based reasoning. So if you have had one very specific experience since childhood, you are likely to keep on running that program into adulthood and into your later adulthood years if you do not install new programming. And so everything that you're taught, I want you to think of yourself like a computer. Your subconscious is the things that are happening that you're not aware of. They're just there in the background, constantly going. Kind of like breathing is a subconscious behavioral pattern, or blinking. You don't really have to think about it. It's just there. So let's say that you have, like me, I grew up in a household where we didn't have a lot of money and it was a real struggle. And so the program that was installed into me was money is really hard to come by. And then I was also told that money is the root of all evil, and that I have to wait until I get to heaven. I grew up in a religious household, but I have to wait till I get to heaven to experience, wealth. And so up until teens, young adults, and even like as an older adult, that is one that I had to really, really work on to reinstall a new program, because that's all I had ever known. And then I had so many experiences that verified that programming and made it very real in my reality. And so I had to start doing the subconscious mindset reprogramming and finding evidence-based reasons as to why that programming didn't have to be real for my reality. Even if I wasn't having preferable experiences, I had to start looking at mentors and guides and, doing kind of what everybody else here is doing, and taking master classes and courses and things like that, just so I could see people that were having a different experience that came from a background that I did, right? One where we didn't have money growing up. And then when I saw representors and like, oh, maybe this could be me, then that programming started to loosen its grip. And then I can come in with new tools and resources, and start experiencing a different type of life and building new evidence-based reasonings as to why I can have a new money story. And same thing with if you have inner children who have experienced abuse in some type of way, or abandonment, okay, or trust issues. What ends up happening is, because you have representors in your life, you think that that's normal. You think everybody lives that way, or you think that's just like a healthy relationship dynamic with people in your life. And so your inner children start wanting to gravitate towards those type of relationships, and then you experience them over and over again. Your subconscious is creating your reality out in front of you based on past experiences. It's like, this is what we always do. This is comfortable. This is safe, even if it's not good for you, because it works off of evidence-based reasoning and memories. And so it will just project the same cycle over and over and over again until you install the new programming. It is most open to suggestion at bedtime and right when you wake up. This is when you're kind of in a dreamy, meditative state, which we're going to talk about in a second. But that is where you have to be really mindful about what you're putting into your mind. What program are you putting in? Like if we are waking up first thing in the morning and we're getting on social media, and you're an empath and a light worker, and every single person that you're scrolling on, you're reading their thoughts, feelings, and emotions, whether you are consciously or unconsciously aware of it, you are. If we're not holding strong energetic boundaries, you are getting dysregulated first thing in the morning. And that's a program that you installed. And that's what you will run for the rest of the day. If you start dysregulated, that's going to be your function. Okay. Or if you're installing fear, like if you're turning on the news first thing in the morning, or you're listening to people about being broke, or, just the world coming to an end, all these things, then those are the type of thoughts that you are going to have throughout the day. And where you leave something vibrationally frequency is where you will pick it back up the next time. So if you are going to bed and you're watching scary movies and you're listening to fear mongering and all these different things, because you're in that meditative state right before bed, when you wake up the next day, you're going to be dysregulated. Okay. So we need to be really mindful of what is the input that is going in, because that determines the output for the rest of your day. So just be mindful before you go to bed, and when you wake up in the morning, we need to be doing something that is investing in ourselves. Are we listening to what you can have positive programming that goes in? Are we listening to like a self-improvement, video? Are we listening to some like calm music? Are we dancing? Are we stretching? Are we doing some yoga, reading a book, or doing Duolingo, like a language learning app like I do in the morning time? It's better for you to be in your own energy first thing in the day without somebody else's influence. Like even listening to a motivation thing in the morning. Like if that's what you need to do for you, do that. Okay. But the person who has the answers for you in your life is you. If you can spend some time doing some self-discovery and giving yourself some self-love and just spending time with you outside of other people's thoughts, feelings, and emotions and their values and their beliefs, you will have a much clearer mind for the rest of your day and be at peace. Okay. And be seeking answers from yourself. So just remember, like, what program am I putting in when I wake up and when I go to sleep? Okay. This is brainwaves. So if you want to learn more about this, I highly recommend checking out Joe Dispenza. He gets real in depth about these, and that's actually who I learned from. I've read several of his books; they're great. Excuse me. And this is how I learned how to access the Akashic records, or one of the ways I learned, or how to get like very, very deep into meditation. So we're going to talk about here first beta and gamma. Most people are living in beta brainwaves. This is you alert, you got an activated central nervous system. Okay? And when we have an activated central nervous system, again, it's just very difficult to do things in life because you're just so like agitated. Okay, or having those fearful thoughts. Even today, before I did this class, I had an activated central nervous system. I said, I can't take this with me and be teaching. Okay. Because I don't want to infuse that energy. I want to be calm and at peace so I can be clear minded and talk very clearly. And so I said, what do I need to do to regulate? I need to go on a walk. I need to take a nap. I need to eat some food. I need to drink some water. I need to put some incense on and listen to some Reiki music, right? We need a tool bag and resources for when you are dysregulated. So gamma, we're going to give the example of an escape room. And if this is your first time hearing about an escape room, it's not, a scary thing. It's a game that you can go play with your friends. You go to a building and then you go in a room, excuse me, and there's a bunch of clues in there. And you have to work together to figure out how to get out. And there's a timer that is running. It is a very high pressure situation. It's not dangerous necessarily, but it's like, oh, I have to utilize a lot of my mental capacity because I am hinging the success of all of us together on figuring something out like very quickly in this limited amount of time. Also taking a test, same thing. Like maybe you're taking a test to for middle school, high school, college, and it's hinging, or your job, and it's hinging like, am I going to graduate? Am I going to be able to get this job if I take this test? Very high pressure. Wrestling an alligator. That would also be a very high pressure situation. Like that can be a life or death situation for sure. But back in the day when we were cave people, we were in gamma sometimes because we were running away from like tigers and things trying to chase us, right? That is a very high pressure situation. Most people, again, are living in beta, the next one down. This is where you are still in kind of high pressure situations, but you're not having to use as much as your mental capacities, and it's not as intense of a situation. But this is also, if you are living in this state of being the majority of your time, this is where fear and anxiety and catastrophizing live. This is where we get on negative thought trains. We are not finding peace throughout the day. We are just go, 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 go. And we're not taking time to, have fun and relax and be chill. The next one down being alpha brain waves. But beta is like if you're in a meeting with coworkers, if you're cooking, and cooking is different for everybody. Okay. Some people like that's your chill time, but other people it's a lot. Okay, there's like different steps going on. The kitchen's all messy. Like you're trying to like not burn things. Like it can be a more of a high pressure. Video games. That's a little bit different than an escape room. An escape room, much higher pressure because your partners are hinging their success on like your mental capacities. Everybody is. Video games, you're in your house. Like it's not as high as stakes as an escape room. Now we get down to alpha. This is the place that we want to strive to be for the most part. Okay. And I know that's not always available for everybody, but the more that you work on healing your central nervous system, the more you will be in this place, even when you are in like really like high activity, high mental level capacities. So this is things like walking by a lake, painting, reading. This is where you kind of get into your flow state and you just feel at peace with yourself and peace with reality. And are able to work through like conflict or challenges without getting so, frizzle frazzly. Theta, this is where you are getting drowsy and in a meditative state. This is a dangerous place to be sometimes. Okay, because this is where your subconscious mind is the most open to suggestion. Right before you fall asleep and right when you get up. This is where people get into these numbing behaviors where they're not, looking at their wounds or doing their shadow work and they're utilizing things to kind of like suppress and stuff things down. And I'm not saying that watching TV or watching TikTok is bad. Okay. I do those things all the time, but I'm a little bit more consciously aware of when I'm doing them and what is it that I'm watching because I know that it's programming me. If I'm watching a lot of again fear mongering or all these different things that we talked about before, my brain is just soaking them up when I'm in these states, watching TV, watching TikTok. But the opposite is true. Like if you're sitting and you're meditating and you're in this state, it's easy for your mind to receive like higher level thoughts or connect with your inner children or connect to your higher self. And then we get to delta states. This is where you access the Akashic records. Okay. Oftentimes when people first start learning how to meditate, they fall asleep because you're in between theta and delta. I actually had to teach myself and train myself how to stay awake in delta states because I would fall asleep every single time I was doing a guided meditation or trying to access my Akashic records or talk to my inner children. I would lay on my bed and just be out. And now I can actually reach delta states like when I'm on a Zoom with clients. Like I can slow them down so much that I kind of like, I don't want to say like check out of this reality. That's probably not like representative, but I can kind of detach and deconnect from the 3D sage, the human sage, and kind of get more in my multidimensional self, my multidimensional lens, so that I can access these things within other people through energy reading or energy healing. And so, again, if you want to learn more about these, highly recommend, especially if you want to get into, Akasha level work, we're going to have to learn how to get it to Delta and notice how that is the opposite of gamma and beta, where most people are at. Okay. So that is why it is so important to heal your central nervous system. Oh. Okay. Your subconscious is represented by this iceberg analogy here, if you will. Okay. So up at the top, we have 10% conscious. This is your critical and analytical thinking. This is things like short-term memory. These are the things that we're thinking about right now. Your subconscious is things that are in the way back. Okay. That's where your inner children live. That's where all your long-term memories are at. Those are where the behavioral patterns are coming from. Those are your beliefs and your truths and your values. Those are your habits. Those are the things that you have to dig for. Okay, dig deep back there. And I was watching this TikTok yesterday, and there was this dating coach, and he was saying that most people, when they go on dates, and this might be applicable to you, maybe not, you can utilize this for your friends as well, or like family. Most people are having conscious conversations, especially like on dates. Okay, first dates, like, hey, oh, what are your pets' names? What do you do for work? Like, what are your brothers and sisters' names? Like, all these things are like very easily accessible to your conscious mind. And he was explaining that that's not the real person. Like, yeah, those are things that you learn about them. We need to go deeper to see if we are a compatibility match, right? Because oxytocin and serotonin and dopamine and all those things, like the rose colored glasses that you're looking through when you first start dating someone, and then you find out who the real them is, or they find out who the real you is, and then you're not a match. He was like, we need to be asking those questions. So he proposed that one of them was, when you go on a date, or you're talking to somebody you want to learn more about, you ask them, instead of like, what are your pets' names, you ask them, okay, let me see if I can rephrase it. What is something that you learned from your mom that has fundamentally changed you as a person to help you become the person that you are today? That is a very deep question that you're going to have to reach in the way back. And maybe, if you're watching this, that kind of is an easy answer to you. But most people, it's going to take them a minute and be like, I don't know. Let me think about that for a minute, right? Because you're having to sift like through so many things and look at your identity while you're doing that. And, just a plethora of layers that you're having to go through. But that's the difference between a conscious thought and a subconscious thought you're having to retrieve. And that is the majority of our behaviors. That's why our reality is the way that it is, because it is just patterns over and over and over again based off of things that have happened to you in childhood, or happened to you in young adult, or your parents, teacher, guardians like teaching you certain things. So it takes a lot of work initially to start reprogramming your subconscious, but once you start doing it, it gets a lot easier. It's a process that your brain learns, and then it starts kind of getting more loosey goosey with these limiting beliefs. Okay, so these are some limiting beliefs that I have had in my life, okay, or subconscious thoughts that I've had to work through. It's always have, I'm too old or too young to do the thing. I will never have enough money. I always forget things. I'm not smart enough. I don't deserve nice things. There's never enough time. So it's really important to figure out what your self-limiting beliefs are. If you don't know what they are, it's very difficult to heal them. And a lot of people don't want to sit down and do those type of exercises because it brings up a lot of pain. It brings up a lot of anxiety. It activates your central nervous system. It brings up a lot of fear. It brings up a lot of not enoughness, or, undeserving, right? These are not things that are your faults. Okay. I want to say that very clearly. Like, babies are not born with self-limiting beliefs. For the most part, they're not born with trauma. We can say something for, generational trauma being passed down through like DNA, but for the most part, babies are born a blank slate. Everything that you have learned in your reality is from someone else. It's kind of like the game telephone, where you're talking into like the can and like I'm listening to somebody and like I'm kind of getting what they're saying, and then like I pass it on to somebody else and they kind of get what I'm saying, and it just gets diluted over time. Well, it's getting diluted based off of other people's trauma, their generational trauma, their own limiting beliefs, what they believe that they're capable of, what they have been able to achieve in their life, all of these distortions and filter lenses. And so you need to know what these things are and sit down and kind of do this soul diving and this homework. And then you have a much clearer path of how to heal and make forward movement in your life. Everything in your reality is based off of what your subconscious believes. Okay. So I know that this can be a hard pill to swallow. It was for me. When I was growing up, I was raised by my grandfather, and I was raised in a very religious, oppressive household. And women were kind of put down. I did not have good self concept or good self confidence, and like I was used to growing up with somebody who was narcissistic. Okay, so I started getting into narcissistic relationships, whether that's with friendships or with romantic partners. And when I heard that from a different spiritual mentor, I was like, what do you mean? I didn't choose this. Like, why would I choose to be hurt over and over and over again? It's because I wasn't choosing it. My subconscious was. That is the program that had been installed by my inner children, or my inner children received that programming. Is what I meant to say. But that is not my fault. That is just what was emulated to me. I thought that was normal. I thought that that is the type of relationships that everybody has in their life. It wasn't until I got older and started healing and I was like, "Oh my gosh, this is like this is not the vibe." Okay? And there are so many people that are living a vastly different experience. Just like when I first had my spiritual awakening, again, I was homeschooled until ninth grade. I wasn't really around a whole lot of other people. I was told, the world is evil, and anybody that was different from me, like, they weren't going to be able to go to heaven, and like just all this stuff. Okay. It was very intense. And when I was 22, I went to my first music festival. And that was a very eye-opening experience because I met all these people that were from different cultures and different backgrounds, and just a plethora, a cornucopia of different beings. And I was like, oh my gosh, everything that I had been told was a lie. All of these people are so beautiful and so wonderful, and I'm so glad that I'm able to have this experience, and it completely changed me forever. And that is what I mean when you start with a little bit of subconscious mindset reprogramming, it starts breaking down all the foundations in your life. Like after that, I was like, what else in my life is not true? Okay. What else lie have I been sold? And then my brain just kind of started automatically working on different areas of my life. Like I did still have to do a lot of work, like active work, taking action steps. But once you start breaking apart these paradigms, your brain starts, again, doing a lot of the work for you. So change your mind, change your reality. Okay, now we're going to get into chakras, and I think since we're 50 minutes in, I think it'd be a great time for a bathroom break. And so we are going to come back and reconvene in 5 minutes. So I'll go ahead and pause, and then we'll get into it. Okay, everybody, we are back. So we're going to dive into chakras. So, what are chakras? They are energy centers, they are housers of our life force energy, or our chi. They connect our organs, our skin, our mind, our nervous system, our physical, mental, spiritual, and emotional bodies. So, when we are trying to heal ourselves, again, it can be very overwhelming because there's just so much, even evidence based off of what we have just talked about here in the first portion. But when you focus on, or not focus on, when you can separate out these different facets of yourself, it makes it so much easier to heal. So, your physical body, your mental body, your spiritual body, and your emotional body all make up you. Okay. They total your multidimensional self. Okay. You're human plus multidimensional. It is, again, easier if we're focusing on one at a time. What can I do for my physical body today? What can I do for my mental body, my spiritual body, my emotional body? They all need different things from you in different levels of healing and different types of support. Okay. And that might be some homework for you to do of let me get into meditation and ask each one of them what they need. That's a fantastic exercise. Or even if you're not at that level of meditation yet, you can simply do some journaling and say, like, maybe my physical body needs a salt bath. Maybe I need to do some brain games for my mental, or read a book. Spiritual, maybe I need to go on a walk, okay, or listen to some Reiki. My emotional body, maybe I need to have a good cry. Maybe I need to ask one of my inner children why they're angry and upset and agitated. Okay. But the same thing is applicable with our chakra system. Is a lot easier when you're working on one at a time or two at a time instead of trying to heal your whole entire system, because each one of your chakras is the houser of very specific things. And when you are doing subconscious mindset reprogramming, like we talked about before, and you are very clear on what your self limiting beliefs are, you can attach them to a chakra, and it makes it so much easier to heal because now you have a pinpoint of what to work on. Okay, so we're going to look at this together. Maybe. Boop. Okay. Okay. So this is our chakra system, and these are what all of the chakras are housers of. Now, is this a be all end all? No. Okay. Some of the chakras blend into one another for different reasons. Like you can experience imposter syndrome in your root chakra and your third eye chakra, but back it up and just use this as a basic guideline. And again, it makes it a lot easier. Okay. You can get into like different things in different chakras for different multitudes of reasons later. But here with our root chakra, it's over safety and security. Our sacral chakra is emotions and our relationships, relationship with self and relationship with other people. Your solar plexus is confidence and willpower, courage, self-love, and self-trust. And trusting other people are your heart chakra. Your throat chakra is self-expression, like expressing yourself how you want to authentically, but it's also over truths and your values and your beliefs. It's also the houser of your intuition. And then we go up to your third eye chakra, imagination, your ability to manifest, and your self concept, how you view yourself. And then our crown chakra, spirituality, and your soul mission. That can also be the fear of persecution. If you have been told like magic is the root of all evil, kind of like money, or, fear programming in media, or, religious or cultural things, like that can be also up in your crown chakra. So I just want to say that in case you're working on those things. But you take your self-limiting belief and attach it to one of these chakras, and you say, okay, well, I'm just going to go work on my crown chakra with this one very specific thing. And the beautiful thing is when you start healing in one chakra, it starts having a ripple effect out into the others. So without you intentionally heal, let's say you're working on your root chakra, it is going to naturally heal things in your third eye chakra, okay, that are correlated with one another. Same wound, different reasons, but you just work on one and it'll help loosen the grip on that trauma wound that you have in another area of your energy field. So I'm going to give you a couple of examples here. So let's do our root chakra, safety and security. So I can go on Google, okay, with my self-limiting belief and look at which one of these you attach to. So this is lack mentality, or if you're having money issues, if you feel like you never have enough money, that's here. Feeling insecure, disconnected from other people in your reality, physical symptoms, fatigue, insomnia, digestion, anxiety, or your sacral chakra. This is your emotions and your relationships. So you might be experiencing mood swings, not passionate, like just feel like nothing brings you joy in life, or things that used to bring you joy aren't anymore. Relationship issues, lack of creativity, low self-worth, constipation. Okay. So you might have some self-limiting beliefs around these things. If we know imposter syndrome is coming from our root chakra, it's a lot easier to heal it, because then we can just focus on that one until we feel like we're ready to level up to work on something else. Okay, heart chakra is over love and compassion and trust. And so some issues you might be having if it's in an imbalance is respiratory issues, high and low blood pressure, poor circulation, holding grudges, trust issues, lonely, defensive, or commitment issues. And then your throat chakra, this is over expressing yourself authentically using your voice and your beliefs and your values. You might be having thyroid issues, neck and shoulder pain, sore throats, hearing issues because your throat chakra is connected to your ears, trouble communicating, holding boundaries, and again, expressing yourself. And there's lots of different ways that you can heal your chakras. Okay. So if you're like me, I like having a multitude of tools and resources in my healing bag. Okay. Because I'm also neurospicy. And so I get on kind of like these trains of doing something for a long amount of time. And then I get bored with it. And I'm like, well, I'm not doing that anymore. So I have to have a lot of resources available that I can kind of circulate through. So I recommend finding those things for yourself with subconscious mindset reprogramming, inner child healing, your self-concept, working on your chakras. Have a multitude of things that you can go to when you're going through these healing processes, because then it makes it more fun. You're mixing it up. You're not getting bored and stagnant. So EFT tapping, Reiki and light language, eating specific colored foods like tomatoes for your root chakra or blueberries for your third eye chakra, your crown chakra, sound healing, wearing certain colors. That's why I dyed my hair blue originally, because I had a lot of healing that I needed to do in my throat chakra. And it was a reminder to express myself authentically and hold good boundaries. It was a way that I reprogrammed my subconscious. Yoga and Qigong, subconscious mindset reprogramming, and inner child healing. And there's a lot more too. These are just a couple of examples that you can use. So again, we want to be working on grounding our energy, okay, finding ways to regulate our central nervous system, then figuring out what all these self-limiting beliefs are, attaching them to chakras, and then learning ways to heal those chakras. And that's how you regulate your energy field and bring harmonization. Then we need to figure out where these things are coming from. Okay, we know why we have the self-limiting beliefs. Where is the root? Okay, where did these things originate? 9 times out of 10 is from your inner children. Okay, it's from you from 1 to 7, or you at 12 or 15. It's when you are learning how the world works. And inner children correlate with our root chakra, our sacral chakra, our solar plexus chakra, and our heart chakra. Okay, again, this is where our beliefs are rooted in. Your subconscious is where your inner children live. Okay, those terms are very interchangeable with one another. So, some ways that we can heal with them is to ask yourself, are the people who taught me these things in my life, or who did teach me these things in their life? Maybe they're not with us on this plane anymore, but we need to ask ourselves, were they living the life of their dreams? Were they really happy in their life? Were they experiencing a lot of happiness and bliss and peace, and making the money that they wanted to make, and traveling where they wanted to travel, and having the home that they wanted? If not, you might want to check those self-limiting beliefs. Okay? Because we don't need to be listening to people who are not where we want to be in life. And not saying that, advice from other people, that's wonderful. Like, we love that, especially supportive people, even if they're not where they want to be in life yet. But a lot of us are listening to people, in our now or in the past, who are living like lives that they're miserable in, that they're stuck in these jobs that they hate, and they're so afraid to go after, the things that they want. They don't think that they're capable of it, all of these things. Well, you need to be listening to people who are where you want to be. Okay, it's very important to find mentors, whether they're, coaches or people on YouTube. Okay. When I first started on my journey, I couldn't afford to hire a coach because I was a struggling single mom working through all these healing things. And, I didn't have enough money to do that. Well, I found some people on YouTube and listened to podcasts all the time, and got my hands on as many free master classes and lives and all these different things, until I could get to a point where I could get more support in my life. But I had to say, like, the people who raised me were not happy. Like, they did the best that they could, and I love them for that. And I'm so grateful and appreciative. And I know that, the difficult times that we were experiencing and the generational trauma that they were regurgitating, it was just part of life. Okay. But all of the things that I was taught is from people that were not where they wanted to be. And they were trying to teach me how reality works. Like, no, we need to insert new programming. Okay. I'm also asking, where did you hear that for the first time? That is how you find out where those beliefs came from. And sometimes when you ask yourself that, you can remember back to a time when you were 12 that you heard something from your mom or your dad, or, a family member, or at church, or something like that. And that might be the core root for right now that you go in and heal. Like, there have been so many times where, I'm working through grief or shame or imposter syndrome, or all these, like anger about things that have happened to me in my life. And I'm like, oh, okay, well, that was me at 12. And then I go heal that 12-year-old, and now all of a sudden 9-year-old me pops up, or 5-year-old pops up, and I'm like, "Oh, dang, I thought I healed that." And they're like, "You did, but now we got to go deeper, because there's also other memories that are deeper than the ones that you thought." Okay, so just be prepared that sometimes when you're doing this layeral healing, you go in and start finding more up underneath these things, but that's great. That means that you're able to release more trauma and PTSD and experience more, emotions and frequencies that you prefer in life. And so an example of this was I was doing a different masterclass one day and I had messed up one of the slides and I started having a panic attack while I was giving the presentation. And I was talking to my inner child while I was trying to talk during this presentation. And I was like, girl, I just need you to hold it down right now. I will talk to you about this after we get off. It's not a big deal. I promise it's okay. But she was freaking out inside and she was trying to take over my consciousness. And I don't mean in like, like trying to body snatch you or anything, but going back into old behavioral patterns. Okay. Guys, I used to have major panic attacks and low self confidence and low self esteem. And all of a sudden, I heard this voice in my head and said, "You are so stupid. You are, people are not going to resonate with what you're saying. They're going to think that you're incompetent, that all these like intrusive thoughts." And I was like, okay, girl, I'll talk to you about that when we get a time. Okay. So after I got done the masterclass, I sat down in meditation and I was like, can you tell me why you feel that way? And she was kind of confused about the question. And I said, where did you hear that for the first time? We're so stupid. And she said, "Oh, grandma used to say that to us or about herself all the time because my grandparents raised me." And I said, "Yeah, that's right. Grandma did used to call herself stupid all the time. She used to call herself fat and stupid and just a whole assortment of like negative, self-deprecating things." And because I heard that over and over and over again growing up, I started to interpret it as my own belief. It started seeping into my subconscious, and that is where the programming started. And so I told her, I was like, that doesn't have anything to do with us. That was because of things that she has lived in through her life and hasn't healed. The reason that parents, teachers, and guardians are able to program you so easily like that is because those voices are coming through in your own thoughts. You hear it over and over and over again, but you're hearing it through your voice in your head. And the more that you do that, the more you start to interpret it as your own belief and thought. And so I had to come in and explain to her, like, girl, that doesn't have anything to do with us. Okay. Like, that is because she hasn't had the resources to heal herself. Like she didn't even know that she was self-deprecating, right? Like because they grew up in like a whole different generation, like they don't have access to the same things that we do now, like the same resources, right? Not an excuse, like everybody needs to heal on their journey, but just different times. So when I said that to her, she was like, oh, I really don't feel stupid. Like I do feel smart. Like I've always felt very smart throughout my whole entire life, like really and truly. But those subconscious like beliefs can really like get a grasp on you, okay, and try and take you down. And it's things that like you don't actually like really truly believe at your soul core, right? Like as a multidimensional being, I don't believe that. Those are just distortion and filter lenses. And so asking yourself when those intrusive thoughts come up, those self-limiting beliefs, where did I hear this from the first, or from who did I hear this from for the first time? And backtracking. Okay. And it might be multiple of people, or maybe you heal one inner child and then you got to go further back and there's other people back there, right? Just take it one person at a time. Is it a trauma projection? Like, is this something that your parents and guardians learned from their parents? And so they're trying to pass it on to you. I have to check myself all the time with my son. And like, I get overstimulated really easily. And then I get kind of like snappy and irritable. And same thing happened with my parents. That's how they handled their relationship with me. And there was never a time where they were like, oh, maybe I shouldn't do that. Okay. That's just like how we functioned as a family, like very dysfunctional. And so now I have to come in as a higher self and be like, girl, go to your room and go take a chill pill. Okay. Because if you keep on doing this, your son is going to be the exact same way. You're going to have the exact same relationship dynamic. That is a behavioral pattern. I am the one that has to break that. And I had to do a lot of deep soul diving to realize that was a behavioral pattern, right? We're living in these lives where we're just doing these things because that's what we've always done. Okay. But you got to question yourself and question your reality, question why am I doing these things? Who did I learn this from? Okay. This is where people get stuck with inner child healing sometimes because they're like, I've come to peace with what happened to me. Like, I understand because it was on my soul contract, like all this different stuff. And you're like, I've spent so much time like thinking about this. Like, why is it still vexing me? Probably because you haven't cleared it out at the root level. It's one thing to heal yourself, which we love that. I love that for you. I love that for me. Okay, we need to do that in our 3D paradigm that we're in right now, to heal our central nervous system. But in order to clear something out fully, you have to go in and talk to your inner child, because the pain and the trauma didn't happen to you. It didn't happen to 20-year-old version you. It didn't happen to 30-year-old version you, 40-year-old, 50-year-old version happened to 5-year-old you. It happened to 9-year-old you. It happened to 12-year-old you. You cannot speak to them as an adult like you would your bestie. Okay. You have to literally talk to them like a 5-year-old, and you have to help them heal their emotions, the pain that they experienced in that time and space, and allow them to process that through your body while you're coming in as the higher self, the parent, the teacher, the guardian, and giving them what they needed when they were little. If you have a parent that yells at you all the time and you are so scared as a little child, you as an adult can be like, yeah, mom was really stressed out because she was a single mom and she had a lot of responsibilities and she was tired all the time and all this stuff. So, like, of course, she was snappy. Okay, get that. Your inner child had a very different experience. Okay. It was like, this person who was supposed to be loving me unconditionally is yelling at me and I don't understand why. And it's very scary. Right. And so now we're holding on to all this trapped emotions and unprocessed emotions like in our central nervous system. You have to go in and explain that to your inner child at an inner child level, and then allow them to process those things through you. That's where you start healing these things like on the permanent level. Okay. So when we unravel trauma and PTSD from our inner children, that's where the magic really starts happening. Okay. Because our inner children are connected to dimensions and frequencies and in different things that are, outside of your tangible physical sensations. Like, they're just so more open to different, portals, if you will. I don't want to call them portals, but some portals, but they can access like the unicorn realm and the fairy realm and the dragon realm, because they don't have all these filter distortion lenses as we do as adults. We're so in our logical and analytical minds, and we're so like hunkered down in a 3D and like goals and like materialism and capitalism and all those things. Your inner children are like in this beautiful state of amazement and wonderment and curiosity, and just so much more open-minded, and don't have all these feelings of unworthiness and all of these things. So when you take all of that from around them, that's when you can really get into your spiritual gifts and like tap back into your channeling abilities and start imagining a new reality for your life. Like, if you want to have a really fulfilled, incredible life, in order to get there, you have to be able to imagine yourself there first. And your inner children are so great for that. Okay. Something that really helped me is when my son was little. I used to listen to this lady. Her name is New Horizons, or her channel on YouTube. And she has hundreds of magical children's meditations, like Dragon Realm, Pirates, all this stuff. And I was listening to it to help him sleep, which is great for his subconscious as well, being in imagination land. But when I got into inner child healing, I didn't feel safe to imagine. I didn't feel safe to dream. I had been told all my life that I needed to be more what's the word I'm looking for? Just be more goal oriented. Like, magic, isn't real, and your imagination, like, you don't need that. You need to just like hunker down and like go 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 go. Well, the opposite is true. Okay, that's why everybody's out here living these lives that they don't want to be in, is because we've been taught to like conform to these specific narratives of like reality of like, oh, you need to like go to school, you need to get married, you need to have kids, you need to do this 401k, like all these different things. But like that's not leading to always a fulfilled life sometimes, but a lot of times you're just like hunkered down in like stress and anxiety and chaos, right? So getting back to that childlike state of being is how you get into a fulfilling life. Okay, so to backtrack a little bit here, what we need to do is work on our safety and security with our central nervous system where we're feeling chill and relaxed, figure out where our beliefs are coming from, okay? Let me put somebody on mute really quick. Hold on. Okay. Okay, safety. Okay, let me start again. Okay, so safety and security with our central nervous system, figuring out what beliefs that we have, the limiting beliefs, and then where do they come from with our inner children. Okay, when you finally integrate the shadow. Okay, now we can get into self-concept. So this is correlated with our heart chakra and then our throat chakra. And what is self-concept? This is how you view yourself. And it's made out of 4 different parts: your self-identity, who you believe you are. So this is identifiers, self-identifiers. So I might say, my name is Sage. I'm a mom. I'm a coach. I like EDM music. I have dogs. Okay. So this is how I'm identifying with my human. Okay. But what am I outside of those things? What kind of person or being am I outside of the stories and the narratives that I have built of myself based off of other people's beliefs and their realities? Your public identity. This is how you view yourself defined by other people's perceptions. So this is how it's very difficult to heal sometimes with family members because they've known you for so long, or long-term friends. They have a very specific narrative of you. This is like when you start trying to hold boundaries and they're like, why are you doing this? You've never done this before. Why are you acting this way? Okay. Or when you're on your spiritual awakening journey and they're like, who are you turning into? Like, this isn't you. We're all meant to grow and evolve. We're not meant to stay the same. We're meant to change, but that's not what a lot of people want to do. They want to stay in comfortability. And so it can be very aggravating, okay, to people or triggering to people when you are changing this identity because of that specific picture that they're holding of you. Now, sometimes the things that you think people are thinking about you are from your own projections. Like I used to think that people did not like me, like everybody. I thought everybody did not like me, but that's because I didn't like me. So I was projecting my own thoughts onto them, and then I was getting it reflected back because that's how I was interacting with them. Okay. And they were just responding to my own self-concept. Okay, behavioral identity. This is the self that is created by your actions and your habits that form your personality. And then your ideal identity. This is the version of you that you aspire to be. This is higher self you. This is like you having all the things, the dreams, the goals, the manifestations that you want in your life. It is also made up of what you think that you are worthy of receiving. And we have to come to the understanding that everything is a projection of your internal state. Okay, so there was a time where, again, I was living with a lot of anxiety and depression and body dysmorphia and, narcissistic relationships and all these things. It was because there was so much heavy gunk within me that was creating those filter lenses. That's how I was interacting with my reality. I was getting a direct reflection of what I was experiencing in here. Well, I went on this very long, intensive healing journey, okay, self-love journey. And once I learned how to heal my inner children and work on my chakras and reprogram my subconscious and work on my self-concept, I have a completely different life now. Like I own my own business. I don't have a boss. I do whatever I want every single day. I have a great relationship with my son, and I found my soul tribe members, and I'm making more money than I ever have. And like I'm just experiencing more joy and happiness and love and abundance and like all these things that I always wanted in my life, and was able to open up my spiritual gifts. But that's because I had to work on what's in here and what I was self-identifying as, not identifying as somebody who is broke or who is broken, right? Or somebody that's not worthy of things, or, I had to work on how I view myself. It had nothing to do with external experiences. Everything around me shifted. Even people who were in my life from old me, say like old Sage, they're completely different in my life now. Like our relationship dynamics, and they're coming from the old version of me, right? But they shifted up into these higher levels of frequency and these higher levels of reality with me, because when we have soul contracts together in karmic relationships and things of that nature. But once you start to change within, it changes things around you. We can't change anybody around us. We can only change what's inside of here. And then everybody is a reflection of you. Everybody, if you're of the understanding that we're all from source and we're source experiencing itself, when you have negative things that are happening in your life, it's to teach you a lesson. Is to help you grow and evolve. And we're going to talk about that in a minute with like karmic lessons. But if you have people in your life that are treating you in some type of way that you don't deserve, if you will, okay? So like if somebody's not respecting your boundaries, that's probably because you're not respecting your boundaries within yourself. And that person is a different reflection of you that's meant to come here and teach you how to hold boundaries, okay, and how to respect yourself. And like when I first started holding boundaries with people, because I was a people pleaser, like a very chronic people pleaser, I was like, I want to heal this. Why is it getting worse? Okay. why is everybody checking my boundaries now? And it's because you have to have triggers in order to grow and evolve. Like you have to have people checking you, right? Like I have a relationship in my life where we had it was not a great relationship. We have a great relationship now, but it was not, when we were together. And I realized he was put into my life, soul contracted, karmically, if you will, because he helped me become the person I am today. Like he triggered the mess out of me. And now I'm a super strong being who is very confident and self-assured and holds very good boundaries because of that relationship. And he grew too. He grew into a completely different person because of the relationship that we had together. And so just when you're going through it, which I know is very difficult when you're going through the 3D and like these things are happening, is to ask yourself, like, how is this serving me? How is this helping me grow? This is a reflection of either something that is coming from my subconscious, which is not my fault. That is stuff that happened to me in childhood that I had no authority over. And it's things that I was taught or not taught. But how can I come in and replace this programming or learn this lesson or see this from a different perspective lens? And that's how you traverse through things a lot easier for the most part, I'll say. Okay. Now we're getting to quantum manifestation. So this is our third eye chakra. This is where we start to imagine and connect to our intuition and hear higher versions of ourselves. So what is quantum manifestation? Oh, one, when people are thinking about physical 3D things, tangible things that you're wanting to bring into your life, it's not actually about the 3D things. Okay. I know you want the money. I know you want the house. I know you want, the new job, or you want, a relationship with a partner and all these things. What you're really after is how they're going to make you feel. So that's where we have to learn how to become a channeler of positive vibrations and frequencies. Everybody is a channeler, whether you know it or not. Okay. If you are living in a negative reality right now, it's because you are a channeler of negative vibrations and frequencies. Again, not typically because of your own, volition, but because how you were raised. But you can change that through these healing processes. So what we want to do is learn how to channel peace, how to channel joy. So we want to, or happiness, magic, whimsy, safety, security. So you want to ask yourself, if I had this manifestation right now, okay, the life of my dreams, how would those things make me feel? And we want to focus on bringing more of those frequencies into our life. And then you become a match and they naturally come into you. You don't have to do so much hustling and grinding and like taking an absurd amount of action steps. This is where signs and synchronicities really start coming into play, and manifestation gets really fun and easy and effortless when you stop focusing on the actual 3D manifestation. Like, we still need to have goals. We still need to have, aspirations. Okay. And it's great to have things you're looking for, but where people get stuck with manifestation is you're thinking about, the money, the career, all these different things, and you get stressed out. You get an activated central nervous system. You're like, well, how is it going to happen? When is it going to happen? I don't have enough money for that. Or, did all these various things. Okay. Like, how am I going to travel around the world? You're teaching your central nervous system to repel your manifestations. Like, it's going to say, of course, I don't want money. Like, that stresses us out. That brings chaos into our lives, and we're thinking about bills, and that's like causing agitation. Or like you wanting to go to Disneyland. Like, if you're thinking about, like, I used that example earlier in a live, but if you're thinking about, like, oh, well, how much are the tickets going to cost? How am I going to get there? The lines are going to be so busy. It's going to be so hot, all this stuff. Like, of course your body doesn't want to go. Okay. So we need to re-pivot within ourselves. I want to focus on the joy it's going to bring me, the peace it's going to bring me. Where am I already experiencing that in my life? Or where have I experienced that in my life? Like with your memories, things that have happened to you in the past. Learning how to become a channeler of what you do want to receive is quantum manifestation. Okay, it's a lot easier. This is a feminine way of manifesting versus like 3D masculine ways of like hustle, grind, goals, all these things. So connecting with future you, that is also what quantum manifestation is. So you're sitting here in your current identity, okay, with all of your self-limiting beliefs, your activated central nervous system, your inner children who are running these behavioral patterns and these triggers and all these things. It's going to be very difficult to get towards your goals. Okay, because you're having to work through all of those distortion lenses. Okay, and if you are having the same thoughts every single day because you're staying the same identity all the time, well, that's why our manifestations aren't coming in, because you're not resonating with them. You have to actually become the version of yourself first that has already have all those things in the future in order to bring them in. So how do we do that? Okay. So this is where we get very clear on the identity that we are shifting into. This is going to take some soul work, some homework on your end. This is saying future me that has the money and the romantic partner and is going on vacations all around the world and, has this amazing wardrobe and all these things. What kind of thoughts and feelings and actions are they taking? How are they feeling on a daily basis? What do they look like? What are the things that they enjoy? Like, really building a character. Okay. I want you to imagine that you're like writing a script, writing a movie. When you go in meditation, when you have a very specific version of you in mind, okay, and you go in meditation and you connect with them, they will give you very specific instructions on how to get there. There is a version of you out there in the ethers that already has all the things. You would not desire those things if there wasn't a version of you that already was out there. That's what parallel realities are. We won't get like super deep into that, but but there is a version of you out there. Okay. You need to learn how to connect to them. Learn how to connect to your higher self, the one that's like closer to you and now experience. Okay. And then we can start using our imagination, working with our inner children to start creating this story, this narrative of like, this is who I'm becoming. This is the goals that I'm going to achieve. These are all the things that I'm going to have. And then asking them, okay, what I need to do in order to shift into you. And what happens, and this is how I have like made so many shifts in my life. When I go in meditation and I speak to that version of me, I become 1% more like her. I start having different thoughts. I start taking different actions. I start just looking at my reality in like a completely different lens. And then I go in meditation again and I become more 1% like her. And then I do that again and again and again and again. And then she starts becoming like this very real, visceral version of myself because she's real. Okay. But you have to continuously do that tangible exercise to like really connect on like an Akashic level. And I can just do that every single day now. Like even with this masterclass, I taught the first one yesterday. I was so stressed out and anxious about it. Like which why? Okay, but we all have imposter syndrome. But anyway, so I said, you know what? I need to go in and I need to talk to future Sage. I need to talk to the Sage that has already done this master class. She's been there. She knows how it went. It went super successful. Obviously, that's why I got the intuitive ping to do this master class in the first place, because I wouldn't have had that if it hasn't already happened in the future. And so I went in to talk to her and she was like, girl, if you don't just chill the F out. Okay. She was like, it was great. We had fun. It was amazing. You took a lot of time and energy to put this together for everybody. And I was so worried about not having enough. And then it ended up being 2.5 hours. Okay. So in doing that, she was able to hype me up. And you can get to a point, which is where I'm at now, where I go in meditation to connect with future me, but I actually turn into future me. I'm actually her talking back to me in the present, okay, and saying, girl, if you don't just chill out, we're already on the overside over here. And that's how I've slowly shifted into these new identities and becoming them a little bit at a time, but you need a very clear picture of where you're headed. Okay, we're going to get into timelines, soul contracts, karmic lessons, the Akashic records, and the cycle of ascension. Okay, so we're going to take one more potty break before I hop into this. Okay, so I'm going to pause the Zoom and then we'll be back in 5 minutes. Okay, everybody, welcome back. And so we are going to get up into our crown chakra here. So I do want to say before we move forward and we start talking about these fun, woo, esoteric things here, that this is a cycle of ascension. So when I first started my healing journey, I was like, okay, well, I'm just going to heal all these things and then I'll be done. Little did I know, again, this is a cycle you go through. So we start with our root chakra and all these basic things, and then we go up into these higher etheric realms, and then all of a sudden it's like you're going through it all over again. And I forget almost every single time that I cycle. I'm better about remembering now, but but for a long time I would forget. I would be like, oh my god, I did all this healing work and it's like nothing happened. Like, why am I experiencing all these things again? It's because that's helping you grow and expand, not only in this incarnation, but multitudes of incarnations. It's helping you as a multidimensional soul. And so I want you to think like, okay, if we're starting down here at the root chakra and we're a baby, and we go all the way up to our crown chakra, and then we feel like we graduated. Okay. So you're at ground zero down here. So you go up to level 10. And now we're starting over again, okay, with all of these things and going at deeper levels with our subconscious and central nervous system and self-concept and quantum manifestation. And you go through the whole process of rigmarole. Then we graduate again and we go to level 20. Okay. But it's not like we're back to exactly where we started. No, we're becoming like a whole new identity at these new higher levels. But it's like, who wants to stay the same? Like we want to continue to expand, right? Whether it's in our relationship, our finances, our career, our own knowledge and wisdom. And so just get ready. Okay. When you go on this journey and just be prepared, like healing is a process, it's a journey, it's not something that just ends. It does get a lot easier over time though. Like once you have these fundamental things in place, it's a lot easier to like handle challenges in your life. Like the 3D doesn't really like affect you as much as it used to in the past. Like you don't get anxious and depressed like you have previously. Like I still have really rough days, sometimes rough weeks, but I don't have rough years. I don't have, rough months continuously ongoing, because I have tools and resources, and I've been through it so many times that it's just a lot easier to handle now. So if that gives you any hope of glimmers, okay, or maybe you're in that space now and you know what I'm talking about. Okay, so here we go. If my thing will click. Oh, okay, there we go. Okay, connecting to different timelines. And so I don't like to call them past versions because time is not linear and everything is happening at once. Okay. When I go in to do Akashic Record readings with people, whether I'm talking to their inner children or different timeline versions, I'm talking to them in real time. I'm not talking to a memory. When I do inner child healing with people, they're very shocked sometimes because they're like, "Oh my god, I didn't realize this is a different consciousness of me." Like it's we're learning how to timeline jump in your Akashic records. Okay, you're actually talking to the consciousness of your inner child from when they were 5 or 12 or 15. It's a very interesting experience that you can have with your inner children or your quote unquote past lives, different versions. So when your inner children or different versions of yourself from different incarnations experience PTSD and trauma, they get caught in these things that I like to call energetic timestamps. This is where behavioral patterns and triggers and karmic lessons come from. This is why you keep experiencing the same thing over and over and over again, even though you consciously are aware of the behavioral pattern. It's like, okay, well, I know about it, but it just keeps on, right? Or maybe you're not aware of it. Maybe it's in your subconscious. So when I go in to connect with these different versions, which you can learn to do yourself, right? You don't always need another healer to do that. I taught myself how to do it, but we go in and we say, hey, these things that have happened to you in the past are not happening to you right now. They think that they are. That is the behavioral pattern. They're like, oh, I have low self-confidence, low self-esteem, and I feel unworthy because my mom always used to yell at me. Well, I'll go in there and speak with their inner child. I'm like, hey, do you know that there's an adult version of you that's not living in this reality? And sometimes they'll be like, no. Like they think that you are still a child and you are actually looking through their lenses and you're interacting with your reality based on your inner child consciousness, right? That's why when we go to family functions, sometimes we're doing so great on our spiritual awakening journey. And then we go and we get so triggered and we feel all of this stuff come up from the past and all these memories and in our central nervous system gets activated and we act like we did when we were a child, same relationship dynamics. Is because your inner children are in these energetic timestamps. You have to go in and explain to them like, hey, I'm the higher self. I have a whole bunch of tools and resources now that I can help liberate you from this. And I can help you process your emotions and listen to your story in what happened to you and help you do these reframes. That's your job now. Okay, as the higher self to help them with that. But you can also do that with your different timelines because sometimes we have these things called karmic rollover lessons where you didn't quite learn the lesson that you needed to, or maybe you wanted to learn it in a different perceptual lens. So you reincarnated with the same lesson, right? But when you learn how to heal your inner children, you are learning how to heal your different timeline versions as well. It's like people want to connect with these past lives, different timelines, and help them with things because they're like, oh, well, that must be the root of my money issues. That must be the root of my commitment issues and all these things. Okay. But if you have inner children that have not healed, that have the same wound, you're going to have a very difficult time connecting to these different timeline versions. That's how the Akashic records work. There's you in the present right now, there's your inner children, and then there's the different timelines. So in order for you to help somebody with something over here, way back in like time and space, okay, even though time's not linear, you have to learn how to become an expert in your own incarnation to be able to help them with something back there, okay? And when you help your inner children, sometimes you don't even have to necessarily actively help these different timelines. They're looking at you as a mentor and a guide. Okay. And that's also one of the things that you can do with different timelines is I can go in now and ask, what version of me is really good with money? What version of me is really good with leadership or really good at putting master classes together, like whatever it is, or being a really good public speaker. And I can just channel directly from them. They can give me advice. They can give me guidance. And sometimes you're the mentor for different timelines. Like I am a really good at inner child healing. Okay. So there might be a different version of me out there in the ethers that needs advice and guidance from me. And through the work that I'm doing here right now, they're learning from me. And then we're healing as like a whole soul together. Okay. And one of the other benefits of connecting to different timelines is it takes a lot of like mental capacity to learn modalities sometimes. Like if you are not, let's say, quote unquote, naturally talented in something, not even with just like spiritual modalities, but like confidence, determination, leadership, accountability, all these things, you have to go through a lot of time and space in your human incarnation. Well, you can cut actually a lot of that out. And you can find a different version of you to channel directly from. Like when I first started learning about Reiki, I did not understand it. Like I understood the Akashic Records, but Reiki just was not clicking. Okay. I was like, maybe this is not for me. But I was like, you know what? If it's meant to come back around, it'll come back around. Well, in that time, it was about a year later, I realized, oh, I can just ask if there is a different version of me that is a Reiki master in my Akashic Records. And then I, did some research about chakras and took a course and all this stuff, but that did not hold a candle to just being able to channel directly from them. All of a sudden, everything clicked. I flew through like chakras, like everything just it made sense. And then I started doing Reiki sessions with people, and they were great. And people were like blown away by what I was able to do with them in their energy fields. And I went from 0 to 100 like so incredibly quickly because I just accessed a different version of myself that already knew how to do these things, right? And so just another pro tip of why this would be beneficial for you to learn. Okay, so we're going to talk about our higher self really quick so you can have a good conceptual understanding. So I want you to envision that this mountain is the journey of your life. This is all the experiences that you're going to have here, all the people that you're going to meet, all the challenges that you're going to go through, all the growth and evolution and expansion, activating your spiritual gifts, all these different things. Okay. So you're inside of the mountain. Okay. You cannot see the top of the mountain. Let's say that this is you right here. Okay. Your highest self, the one that came here, or the one that decided what you're going to experience before you got here, okay, was speaking to your guides and creating the map of your life, the plan. They can see you even though you can't see them. This is why it's very important to learn how to connect to your higher self so they can give you specific guides and instructions. They're kind of like speaking down to you and saying like, hey, maybe you should go this way. Maybe you should do that. Maybe you should check out this modality. Maybe you should get this job, right? Because they can just see more of the life map. Now, is your soul contract or your soul contracts malleable? Yes, they are not set in stone. Just because you decided to go to McDonald's does not mean that you can't take a detour and go to Burger King instead. Okay. Like there have been many times where I have not liked what is happening in my reality. And I have gone into my Akashic Records and say like, hey, I need to make some changes. We need to pivot. This isn't exactly what I thought that I wanted. Right. Because all of your incarnations are having very different experiences. And maybe I thought it was going to be like one of my other incarnations, and it's not. Okay, so we need to make adjustments. Okay, so this is you as a baby down here at the bottom left. And let's say this is you at 5 years old, and this is you at 15, and this is you at 20, and maybe this is you just hypothetically at 30. Okay, and then this is you at the end of your incarnation, the highest self, right? At the end, you're like old, about to transition to the next side. Okay, but reverse it. And then you were also, before you came into existence. So when you learn how to connect with these different higher level versions of yourself, which there are many higher selves, it's not just one, it's so much easier to traverse through your journey when you learn how to talk to you a year from now. Okay. And it's so much easier to become them as well. Like it's great to have goals and aspirations that are like 20, 30, 50 years from now, but it's very overwhelming and overstimulating. It's very confusing. There's so many different steps. Okay. When we start connecting to the identity a year from now, as let's say here, okay, you're talking to them and they are talking to the next higher self, and so on and so on and so on. And they're passing down instructions and a guide map for you to get there. Okay. But it takes so much pressure off, and it's a lot easier to achieve your goals this way. The same thing works with your inner children. Okay. So this is you. When here and now, okay, when I first started on my journey, I could not hear my higher self. I could not hear any of my guides. I was like, oh, well, obviously I'm broken, or like something's going on with my psychic abilities. Like I couldn't figure out like what the distortion was. There was a lot of different layers to that, a lot of different layers, okay, as to why. But I said, you know what? If I can't hear my higher self, I'm going to teach myself how to be a higher self to my inner children. I said, I'm going to stop focusing on projecting forward, because the goals that I thought I wanted, like I'm not going to be able to achieve those with all of the limiting beliefs and the activated central nervous system and, you know, all of these things that I need to heal in order to see with more clarity, or be able to envision myself in that reality, like we talked about with self-concept and quantum manifestation. So let me just work on clearing out the gunk, okay? Clearing out the lenses and the distortions. And so in healing my inner children, I learned how to timeline jump in my Akashic records, because your inner children or your past versions, anybody younger than you, they are actually in these different timestamps, like we talked about. Okay. These different places in your energy field, if you will. Okay. So as soon as I learned how to be a higher self, how to be a guide, how to be a leader in my own life, and how to help them heal, I could hear my higher self very clearly. I could hear a multitude of my higher selves very clearly, okay? Because it opened up the channels both ways. And then after I learned how to connect with my inner children and my higher self, and I taught myself how to timeline jump without me even being like consciously aware of it first, now you can go in your Akashic records and heal all these different timeline versions of yourself. Like do very, very deep soul healing work and clearing out soul contracts and karmic lessons, and just evolving at this very rapid pace, because you're able to access all these different consciousness levels from all these different perspectives. Okay. And I'm going to show y'all a different slide here in a second to make more sense. Hold on. Okay, before we get into that, what is the Akashic Records? You might be asking that. Okay. So the Akashic Records are a vibrational record of all of your thoughts, feelings, emotions, and actions across all space and time. So I want you to think of yourself like a filing cabinet, okay? So the filing cabinet is your Akashic Records. You open the filing cabinet and you have all these different files in there, and these are all your different incarnations, but they're housed within your totality of your Akashic records, okay? But your Akashic records, the files of you, okay, are held within the bigger Akashic field, within the office building, if you will, okay? Everything has consciousness. Rocks, plants, water, your bed, your couches in your house. Every single food, everything, okay? Everything is made out of frequencies in some level of consciousness. You can read anything's Akashic records, because that your sink in your kitchen, it might have been a person in a different incarnation. It could have been a rabbit in a different incarnation. It could be a whole plethora of things. It could have been a star. It could have been a galaxy. It could have been the sun. Okay. It's just getting reconfigured in different energetics and being brought down into 3D tangible, like manifested consciousness, if you will. But you can read anything, but you have to ask permission. We can't just be reading people's Akashic records without them saying yes. This is why it's really important to learn how to reach these deep levels of meditation within yourself, and learn how to frequency read on a very subtle level, because you have to ask the plants permission. You have to be able to get to a place where the plant will be like, yes, you be able to hear it. Like I have 3 dogs, and 2 of them have let me read their records, and one of them said no. And I have to be very respectful of that. Now, I'm going to say something that is a little bit different than some other Akashic record readers. It's like no shade to anybody, but this is, you know, how I do things. Okay. I do not recommend reading your children's Akashic records. Okay. They do not have sound judgment. Okay. You're prefrontal frontal lobe cortex is not really fully formed, your judgment maker, until you're like 25, 26 years old. And so if they are a minor, we need to wait until they're at like their full capacities to ask them if we can do that, right? Because we also like there's like biases with family, and we want to make sure that we're not like messing around in things that we don't need to mess around in, okay? Because everybody has their own, I know they're your kids, okay? But everybody has their own soul contracts and reasons for being here and lessons that they need to experience. They're their own sovereign divine beings. So we just need to be mindful of that, okay? Because that's one of the first questions I get asked from people, like, oh, I can read my children's Akashic records. I'm like, you should probably wait on that, okay? And we can't change anybody. So you change you and the things around you change, okay? So your Akashic records really help you have a higher level perspective of yourself. They help you connect to your multidimensionality. They help you step outside of this human incarnation because, again, if you're thinking the same thoughts and having the same actions and just resonating as the same identity and feeling the same emotions just over and over again, well, you're going to get the same results. You have to have different input. You have to connect to different consciousness outside of yourself. That's why it's really beneficial, like going to your friends for advice, because they're not in your situation. So when you connect to your Akashic records, it takes you to this plane, this dimensional space, if you will, where you can look through different perspectives and have higher level thoughts, like think things that you've never thought before, or be able to take different action steps because you can see bigger parts of your soul contracts, and how if you make pivots, it'll make big shifts in your life. Okay. But you have to get out of where you are right now. Like you have to get into this different consciousness space. It also helps you expand your knowledge and wisdom. You can meet different interdimensional beings. Okay. You can meet fairies and unicorns and dragons and ETs and all these things. You can learn about different technology that you haven't seen before, or you can receive, upgrades and activations. That's one of the things I love about being an Akashic record reader for other people, because it has just expanded my knowledge and wisdom and my spiritual gifts, because I'm asking advice from all these different timeline versions of people. Like they're from different planetary systems and different dimensions and have seen things I've never seen before. I get to see plants that are like not from this world, and like hear music, and I've had different versions of people offer me food before, and I energetically eat it, and it's like the best thing I've ever had in my entire life. Like it is a really fun, exciting modality to get into it, and the Akashic records are available for everybody. This is not something that is only for a select people. Everybody can access these states of being within yourself. It just takes time and practice cleaning out all the sludgy distortions and the limiting beliefs and all these things. But this is available for everybody. It just takes time and practice, okay, and just continuing to learn. Okay, this is the slide that I wanted to show y'all. Okay, so we're going to look at the sun up here as source. Okay, that's how I like to represent it. And then the big person here is your oversoul. This is the first version of you that ever came into existence. Okay, so we can think of them like as a human form, if you will. They might have been something else, but they are the guardian of all of your different timelines. And so these mountains down here are representative of the slide that we looked at previously. So let's say this is you in this incarnation. Okay. You have your highest self, and then you have all of your past versions all the way down to a baby. Okay. All of these different timelines are running on the exact same system. There is a highest version of every single timeline. And when you access your Akashic records, you can speak to all of the highest selves. Now, that takes a lot of time and practice, okay? And I'm not saying that I've met all of mine, but I've met a lot of them, and they're great, okay? And you can actually connect to your oversoul. This is you. I've connected to my oversoul a couple times. Okay, this is not for all the time, okay, because you're still living a human experience. You still have to go through, the challenges and the karmic lessons and all these different things. But when you do connect to your oversoul, it just gives you this like renewed sense of purpose. And like all of these things, these distortions and these limiting beliefs and all that stuff, like that has nothing to do with me. Those are all things that happen to human sage for like very specific reasons, or all this stuff. but it kind of like gets all the clouds out of your way so you can remember like, oh, I am source. I am the creator. I can have anything that I want. I can do anything that I want. I can be whoever I want, right? So that's the value of being able to connect to these different versions. And it's almost like building a council around yourself. Like if you have all these different facets that are like these enlightened, awakened beings because they went through this whole entire life experience and they accumulated like a whole file cabinet, right, of knowledge and wisdom that they can impart to you. It can help you rapidly accelerate as a being, as a healer. Like it just really takes everything in life to the next level. So that is benefits of connecting to your Akashic records. And lastly, here, we're going to talk about soul contracts and karmic lessons. So, soul contracts are the people, places, challenges, knowledge, and experiences that you want to have in this incarnation. And again, is kind of malleable, okay? But karmic lessons, sometimes you have what we call rollover lessons. So this is, oh, you did not fulfill your soul contract in a different incarnation for like various reasons. And so you got to redo it. Okay. Or you want to redo it. You're choosing to redo it. You want to learn through different perceptual lenses. Like maybe I wanted to learn how to heal imposter syndrome through Sage's eyes. But then there's a version of me in the 1800s that also wanted to work through imposter syndrome so I could level up as a soul. And then one of me that is future me living in like year 5000 that also wanted to learn imposter syndrome so I could become an expert at it. People who are like really good at certain things like leadership, accountability, determination, willpower, spiritual coaches, mentors, and things like that, healers, you've been doing that for a long time. It's not just this incarnation. Most of the time when people are blocked up with their gifts, it's because they're thinking like, oh, I need to learn how to do this. I'm like, you probably just need to remember. You're probably doing this a very long time, and the distortions of PTSD and trauma are telling you otherwise and making you forget you're a multidimensional being. But once you start to remember who you actually are, things start unlocking at like a very rapid pace. Okay? but you've been probably cultivating these gifts that you have for a very, very long time. And it's just, like I said, about remembering. Karmic relationships are things that you have set up before you got here to learn certain things from that person. And so sometimes that person, you made a soul contract for them to hurt you in some type of form or fashion so that you could become the person that you're meant to be to help people with certain things. Like I can look back at my life and karmic relationships just feel different. It's like, I know you. I know you from somewhere else. This is not the first time that we've met. Or like, oh, I'm obviously with this person to learn a lesson here, okay? To help me grow and evolve. It's not like a regular relationship. And karmic relationships can also be your soul tribe members. These are beings that you have been with for a very long time through multitudes of incarnations, right? Or you can be a part of the same oversoul. Like I was having a conversation with a couple of my soul tribe members, and I was like, or my friend Kimberly, she was like, I think that we're from the same oversoul. And we're all different timeline versions of ourselves in this incarnation. And I was like, you know what? That makes a lot of sense. And that deeply resonates. That's why we like each other so much and we gravitate towards one another and we have very similar beliefs and values. And I was like, yeah, that makes sense. Okay. But karmic relationships, again, can be negative, perceived negative. Okay. Or they can be really positive, like I said, with your soul tribe members. When you understand your soul contracts, it takes so much pressure off of your life when you can connect with your intuition and your higher self and your inner children, because you stop worrying about being able to get things done on time. You have a lot more trust in yourself because you're like, I'm going to get where I'm meant to be going. Like, I decided that I'm going to do this. Like, and my higher selves are leading and guiding me and telling me like, girl, just chill out. Like we're going to get there. We're going to take the action steps. We're going to heal. We're going to grow and we're going to evolve. And so you can kind of like relinquish some of that control. Okay. That fear, that anxiety, that catastrophizing, because it's like, no, I can read my timeline. Like I know that these things are going to happen for me, and I'm going to talk to my higher selves and we're going to figure out a plan, and they're going to give me action steps. And I'm not saying that will take all the anxiety off, because, I still get bogged down in the 3D. Okay. I still get triggered. I still have self-limiting beliefs come up just like any other human being. Okay. But because I have these tools and resources, I can repivot and come back to that multidimensionality within myself and the homeostasis, right? And a regulated central nervous system. And I have tools and resources to heal my chakras and my subconscious mindset reprogramming, all these things, so that I don't get bogged down and weighed down in the minutiae of like the human experience, if you will. Okay. So we're going to do a little exercise together. So we know now how everything is connected to one another. That's really important. That's like a huge fundamental key piece, because like I said, we can be like grasping at straws and like, what do I need to focus on? Why do I need to focus on it? And so this gives you a very clear path to head, and you can just keep recycling through it over and over again on your ascension path, on your ascension journey. So now we need to figure out the why. Why do we want to go on this journey? Okay. Because I'm not going to lie to you, it's very intense. Okay. It's not all rainbows and unicorns and sprinkles. Like, healing my inner children was a lot of crying and just very activated central nervous system, and a lot of processing emotions and anger and fear and guilt and all this stuff coming up to clear out. But once I got through a lot of that fundamental heavy phases, oh my gosh, a whole completely different life. Okay. So it's definitely worth it. Okay. Highly recommend. Okay. But it can be very intense, and it's still intense sometimes. Like, I still go through dark nights of the soul and tower moments and things, but it's just gotten easier along the path. Okay. So I want us all to, if you can, don't do this if you're driving, obviously. Okay. But close your eyes, and we're going to take a deep breath in through our nose. And we're going to take a breath out through our mouth. And we're going to take a deep breath in through our nose. And take a breath out through our mouth. And you can keep your eyes closed. I'm going to ask you a couple questions, okay? How would it feel to fully trust yourself? To be able to take leaps of faith into the unknown? Not catastrophizing and thinking worst case scenarios, but thinking the best case scenarios that could happen for you and them actually coming into fruition. How would it feel to hear your intuition more clearly, and your guides and your higher self, so they can give you a much clearer path on how to achieve the things that you want in this incarnation? How would it feel to make better aligned decisions and not be second guessing yourself? How would it feel to learn how to channel these more preferable frequencies like joy and magic and whimsy and freedom and just laughter and all of these really good feelings, okay? And shift your reality. Discover your cosmic history, use your voice to change the lives of others, express yourself authentically, and reach higher levels of consciousness and have esoteric wisdom and understandings. So we're going to take a big breath in through our nose and breathe out through our mouth. And I want you to ask yourself, when I become this person, how is that going to feel? And maybe you're already on your way. Maybe you are already this person. Okay. But how does that feel in your body? Maybe it feels relaxing and peaceful and serene. Maybe it took a big weight off of your shoulders. Maybe you have a lot more confidence that you were able to achieve these things, or you just feel a lot more magical after learning all of these things today. Okay, that is why we want to go on this process and this journey, because these are the results. This is what you can integrate and heal and expand in your life, and this is available for you. Okay, I know sometimes it doesn't feel that way because of the distortions and limiting beliefs and all those things, but as somebody who was or felt, okay, now I'm going to say I was broken. I felt so broken in my life. And like I was just headed towards, all these negative things. these really, really negative things happening in my life. I was able to go through these processes and become the person I am today. And then that's what I do with other people, is help them do it too. I wish I could explain to you how many people that I have seen go on this transformation journey and be able to implement all of these things in their lives. And they come from so many different backgrounds and experiences, and they have just been able to do it because of their willpower and the determination, and them knowing, like, I know it's difficult at first, but if I just keep going, I will see the light at the end of the tunnel and I will be able to break free and experience a different reality. So I want you to know that these things are available for you too. And then hopefully this masterclass gave you some key fundamental steps on how to get there. Okay. So if you want to dive deeper and learn how to really integrate all of these things, and you want tangible exercises, because it's one thing in spirituality, like when you're learning from people and they're like, oh, just go journal and meditate, which is great, we love those, okay, but it's like, what questions am I supposed to be asking myself? Like, how exactly am I supposed to apply these things? I need to have like a step-by-step guide for each single one of these steps. Well, that is what we're going to be doing in the Quantum Evolution Academy. This is a program that I am launching on February 1st. I'm super excited about it. Some of the beautiful live participants here are going to be in it. I'm super excited to see y'all there. So this is going to be a 12-week program, and we're going to be diving very deep into each one of these topics. And we're going to be talking about central nervous system and inner child healing and chakras and all of these things, because those are the fundamental bricks and the foundation that we need to work on. But we're also going to be doing a ton of fun things together too. Not that those things aren't fun, but everybody wants to talk about spiritual gifts and channeling and past lives and parallel realities and quantum manifestation. So we're going to be talking about those as well. Balancing your chakras. Oop, oop, I skipped a slide. Hold on. Okay. Developing your channeling abilities, understanding dimensions and frequencies, timeline reading with past lives, different timelines, and holding sacred space for others. So, what I want you to be able to do walking away from this program is for you to be able to say, I am an Akashic Record reader and I am an inner child healer. I am going to be sharing every single thing that I have learned on my spiritual awakening journey, working on myself and working with other people. Okay. So I love making things very tangible and very easy to understand. Okay. So these are all going to be self-paced lessons that you're going to work through the 12-week program. And they're going to be very short form videos. Okay. Because y'all know I like to do long form content. I'll be sitting here for 2.5 hours, but I know not everybody's attention span, even my attention span. Okay. So they're going to be very digestible. There's going to be a lot of lessons. This was originally an 8-week course, but I made it a 12-week course because I just have so much amazing content that I want to give everybody. So I decided to extend it. It's very comprehensive. Okay. So we are going to have the self-paced lessons, and then we're also going to meet every week on Zoom, Wednesdays at 7 p.m. EST. If you are unable to come to the lives at that time for the Q&A, there's going to be replays of all of the sessions. And then you can ask me questions beforehand and I will answer them in the lives. And we're going to be doing a lot of fun things like activations and meditations together. It's going to be great. So the investment is going to be $777. And then you also get a private Facebook community. So this is where we're going to connect with one another. This is like, hey, I'm going to find my soul tribe members through this. Okay. This is like all of us coming together to be spiritual and woo and to validate your reality. And you can ask questions and support and receive guidance. And you'll always have access to the Facebook community. I really wanted to make a hub for everybody who goes on this process together. No matter what launch that you are joining in, you will always have access to ask questions either from me or from other people. Okay. You'll have lifetime access to the course. So every time I do a new launch, every 3 months, you are going to get the updated information that I put in there, because I'm sure there's going to be a whole other plethora of things that I'm going to want to teach everybody. And I want you to be able to get that as well. Okay. And if you're thinking like, Sage, this is so much. Okay. How am I going to learn this in 12 weeks? I get it. Okay. And I know everybody learns on different paces. And so I want to make sure that you have as much support as available. So after the program ends, you're going to get 6 months of one time a month Zooms. So if it takes you 16 weeks, 18 weeks, 20 weeks to get through all this, I'm still going to be there to help you. Okay. We're going to have the Facebook community and then the monthly Zoom meets. So the next launch of this after February is going to be May 2024. And the investment is going to go up to $1,111. So if you want to be one of the founding members and get in at 777, I would love to have you in the program. It's going to be so much fun. And this is really going to help launch you into a different reality. This is going to teach you how to channel a new reality for yourself, but also teach you new modalities. Like if you've been like, I really want to learn how to help other people with Akashic Records or inner child healing, this is for you. If you just want to learn inner child healing and Akashic Records for your own self, this is for you. If you are a beginner, totally fine. If you're seasoned, totally fine. Okay. This is the information for everybody. If you already have a good concept of these self-paced lessons that we're going to be working through, I teach in a way that you are going to be able to take all this information and teach other people. Okay. It's going to be that comprehensive and it is going to be that easily laid out that you can just receive all this information and then become an inner child healer, Akashic Record reader for other people. Okay. Now remember, you're still gonna have to do the work on your end too. Okay. Like all of these things we have to implement and heal, okay, while we're going through this together, but you will have all the keys that you need. Okay. So I want to say a huge, giant thank you to everyone who came to the live today and who will be watching in the future. If you want to sign up for the Quantum Evolution Academy, you can reach out to me on my socials, Soul Harmony Magic, on TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, or you can email me, soulharmonymagic@gmail.com. If y'all have questions that are here during the live, feel free to put them in the comments. I would love to read them and we can talk about them. If you're watching this in the future, feel free to leave questions in the comments and I will get back to you either through text or through a video response. And I'm going to open up the chat here. And I would love to hear what everybody's biggest takeaway was. Like what is it that really impacted you the most? I love asking that question. That is a subconscious question. Okay. Because it really makes you do like a review and it really seeps back further in your subconscious for you to really grasp onto these concepts. So I would love to hear, in the comments here or, in the future, what was your biggest takeaway? And thank you so much. I also want to say, I'm so proud of you. I am so proud of everyone here right now or again in the future, because I know that this journey is not easy. It takes a lot of willpower and determination and accountability to be a self-aware person and to be traversing through this 3D paradigm where we're going through all of these collapses. Okay. And it takes brave souls like yourself to be able to traverse this experience. Sometimes it feels like, the Earth school, okay, it's just so intense and it feels like, we're just like kindergartners, but Earth is a really advanced place to be. Like there is waiting lists for people to incarnate on Earth. And you're like, why the heck would that want to be? It's because you are growing and evolving at such an incredibly rapid pace as a human being. Okay. Like people in the galaxy, okay, in the cosmos, in the ethers, look at you with such reverence. Okay, not everybody is able to come in and live this Earth experience, okay, and make it through. And so I just want to say a special thank you. And even if you're newer to inner child healing, I know that there's a part of you that is doing this for your inner children. Even if you are not consciously aware of it, like maybe this activated something within you today, but you have been here for them all along and learning how to liberate them and help them like heal and feel more joy and peace and magic and whimsy in their life. And if you're just doing this just for yourself, okay, and your inner children, that's a beautiful, wonderful thing. And I know that they greatly appreciate you for that. Okay, we all appreciate that for you. Even if you are only focusing on your own life and healing and recalibrating and getting to a place where you feel safe in your reality and you can experience a new experience, if you will. Like, thank you. Okay. It is individual work that we do to heal the collective. Don't ever think that you're not doing enough. Okay. I'm an energy healer coach and I'm helping in my own way. That doesn't detract from you just focusing on your life solely. Like, you are doing just as much work as me or anybody else. Okay. Like, it is a lot that you are doing. And I'm very proud of you. And I'm sending you a big hug. And I hope you experience a lot more magic moving forward after this masterclass. If you need any other support, I do offer other things like Akashic Record readings, inner child healing, multidimensional chakra scans. I'm available for those as well. And so if you have any questions, just let me know and I appreciate you. You make everything feel possible and within arm's reach. Y'all, it's so encouraging. Thank you. Okay. I'm so happy to hear that. Okay. Like, anytime that I can give somebody like a little bit more like courage and like faith in themselves, like that just makes me super joyful. Okay. So thank you for sharing that with me. Okay, everybody. I hope you had a wonderful time and I will see you next time. Bye.